Open heart, open mind. Welcome to the Sabra channel, the official platform of the Sabra project. I'm Shara Wong, the co-founder of Sabra project.
Myself Samiksha Mishram, and I am from the Sattva Youth, bringing Dharma to you and bridging Dharma with youth. This is a Buddhist youth program initiated by the Sattva project.
So first of all, I would like to, on behalf of the Sabra project, we would like to express our thankfulness and gratitude to our media partner and StreamYard sponsor, Duran ASEAN and Duran FM. Next, I would like to thank a very special person behind the scene, who is our broadcast director today, Brother Ray. Ray, would you like to say hello to everybody?
Welcome and thank you for joining us. Please like and share this video with more people. If you are watching this later on YouTube, do subscribe to our channel, like and share the video. Now back to you.
Thanks, Ray. So today we are going to have a Dharma talk and Zen meditation by the title of Human Zen, guided by Myong An Sunim. So Samisha, would you like to tell us who is Myong An Sunim?
Yes, before we begin with our session, let me introduce to you Myong An Sunim. Myong An Sunim, usually called Sunim, was born to a Chinese family in Malaysia in 1959. He received his education in the UK, culminating with an MBA and worked in finance. Sunim met his teacher Zen Master Seong San in 1992. He became a monk in 1997 and spent the subsequent 16 years in Korea on intensive Zen retreats. He received Inca, the authority to lead retreats and teach koans, in 2015. Sunim has over 30 years of meditation experience and teaches in Penang and internationally. His teaching approach combines the wisdom of the ancient teachers with the science of meditation to arrive at ways of practice that are well suited to our contemporary lifestyle. Let us all welcome Sunim to this session. Welcome,
Thank you
Sunim.
very much for the very kind introduction. Evening, everyone, and welcome to our Sattva project meditation. And we'll start with some meditation. And one of the things that struck me that I believed when was the keys to success when I used to work, these two keys of ambition and striving, are actually very counterproductive to meditation practice. But these habits from our work or from our life, the striving and having very high goals, carry into our meditation because they're so ingrained as a habit. So I used to strive to maintain focus, almost gritting my teeth to try to stay focused on my breath. And I was really kind of very over-efforting, trying too hard. And I was sometimes leaning so hard to make sure that I would, be fully aware of the next breath, that I really was missing what was happening right now in the moment. So I was always like fast forward, even though I was sitting still on a meditation cushion. So that was what was happening to me. So, but really, it took me some time to figure out that the actual process of being aware doesn't require striving or making a really really tightly focused effort, this like gritting your teeth and that kind of thing. Just seeing that it is like a almost an effortless non-striving practice really helped change my approach to practice. It really helped me kind of relax into the moment and be with it. So I hope you'll give it a try tonight, not leaning so hard into the practice, not really trying to like 100% focus. Like one of the students I used to teach, she would sit and then she would have this really like frown on her face. Her eyebrows were almost touching when she was because she was trying so hard. And that's not what we're trying to do in meditation. We're actually learning to relax our mind and be mindfully aware, you know, mindfully aware in the moment. So one easy way of noting or reminding yourself when you find yourself trying too hard is just to say to yourself, when it's like you find you're struggling, then just step back and just say to yourself, it's okay, it's okay. You know, you don't have to try so hard, it's okay. And just settle back and gently feel your breath again. You know, experience your breath rather than trying to like tightly focus on it. So let's try that tonight and begin by sitting in a upright, alert, and relaxed posture. Close your eyes. Or if you're one of those people who like to keep your eyes open them slightly and lower your gaze, direct your gaze downwards with a soft focus. And then beginning with a few deep breaths, settle into meditation. Feel the body breathing. Allow your body to breathe itself. When you breathe, know that you're breathing. That's all. With a relaxed awareness. And if you find your mind wandering, not a problem. You can just say to yourself, it's okay. It's okay. Because that is the normal functioning of our minds, to wander. Gently return to experiencing your breath again. That's all. Come back each time you find your mind wandering. Your mind can wander 1,000 times. All you have to do is just come back 1,000 times without judgment or expectation. There's nowhere you have to go. There's no state you have to attain. There isn't anything you need to be. Just allow yourself to feel your breath, experience your breathing. And when you do that, you're already present right in the moment. When you're ready, start to open your eyes and bring your awareness back to the room again. And thank you for your practice. So, tonight, our topic for discussion is human Zen. And if you have any questions, please post it on your Facebook messages or on YouTube, and it'll get picked up by uh, our, our MCs tonight. So, human Zen. I mean, how many of us have really deeply contemplated what the meaning of our life is? We know in life we have two fixed points. Two certain fixed points. The time, exact moment of our birth, and then sometime in the future, the moment of our death, which is not certain yet, but not certain in time, but certain in that it will take place. And in between these 2 points is our life, the life that we live. But how many of us really look at it deeply? Look at what the life that we're living right now and ask, is what I'm doing with my life what I really want to do? And is it meaningful to me? And if you haven't really spent that much time contemplating your life, join the crowd. Most people don't really even give it a passing thought. They're just busy sort of getting on with the kind of activity of life, the working, the socializing, the entertainment, all this sort of stuff. So I was exactly the same when I was younger. I just assumed that whatever I was doing was what I was supposed to do. Some point studying, education, then after that, working and so forth, and then trying to build some kind of career and etc. So no one actually suggested to me that I should at least question or look at the conventional path that I was taking. This study, get a good qualification, hopefully then leading to a fairly well paid job, and then so on and so on. The kind of life progression that you see 99% of the people in this world doing. So it's kind of like a escalator to success that everybody wants to get on. And if you're lucky enough, you're fortunate enough to have the opportunity to get a good education and then a fairly good job with a company or start your own business, and you get on this escalator, you're almost guaranteed to have a reasonably good standard of living. House, car, marriage, kids, and flying abroad for holidays. As long as you don't get into a major disaster in your career or business, or you don't get a major illness, then life is, basically kind of goes on that way with its ups and downs. So, Dr. Brené Brown, a research professor at University of Texas in Houston, she interviews thousands of people for her research, and she studies her main thing that she studies is shame and vulnerability. Actually, a very interesting subject. Anyway, she made this very insightful point about some of the people she interviewed. She said, you really have to learn who you are. And she said, because if she had $1 for every interview she did with a late 20 or early 30-year-old that got onto the engineer, lawyer, doctor, accountant path, because that was the moving escalator for smart people. The number of people that she met like that who were depressed and hated what they did and never even knew that they could be a shoe designer or a casting director or a microphone builder. If she had $1 for every one of those people she met, she'd be set for life. That means she'd have no problems financially. So that's her way of saying that this kind of issue is so widespread. You think that you get on this escalator of success, then you realize, oh my goodness, it's not what I imagined. So when I heard her say those words, I kind of got a bit of a shock because I realized I was exactly like that in my 20s and 30s. I had one of these professional jobs that was pretty well paid, but I didn't feel the way that I thought I would about my work. I didn't feel passionate or excited or motivated. It's like getting up in the morning was like, okay, I have to go to work again, but I wasn't looking forward to it. And I thought maybe that's because I'm not working hard enough. So the solution, work harder. So I tried that. And for a short time it worked because I forgot about my kind of negative feelings about work or that kind of work. But luckily, I met Zen Master Song San and started to practice meditation. Then, as a result, I started to look at the life I was leading more closely. And then I went on a 3-month retreat, 3-month intensive meditation retreat in Korea in 1993. And after that, I realized, wow, the things I thought that were really important, you know, career success, money, they're not really what I want in life. That was a bit of, when I realized it came as a bit of a shock to me because all the time that I was working, in these companies that I worked at, I looked at my bosses, pretty high up the corporate ladder, pyramid, very well paid. And this particular boss was in his early 50s, always wore expensive suits and shirts and ties and had these I don't know, watches that you can't even pronounce the name of, but very expensive. But he was not very happy, actually sometimes pretty miserable. He had devoted his life to the company, 20, 25 years of his life to the company. His wife already divorced him. He was alone, living in this big luxury apartment with nobody else for company except his cat. And I never saw him socializing with any friends. So it wasn't a great look. So I sort of realized looking at him, and then I asked myself, is that what I want to be like in 20 or 30 years' time? And I kind of realized with a bit of a shock, no, I don't want that. I don't want a nice corner office only to like go home to an empty place and feeling miserable, even though I would have some money to cushion the impact. But it really didn't seem to be much of a meaningful life. So I knew then that that wasn't what I wanted. I knew what I didn't want, this conventional kind of life. Climbing the corporate ladder, trying to be better, get a bigger job title, all this kind of stuff. And then retiring at 55 or 60. So I knew what I didn't want, but I didn't know yet what I wanted from life. I didn't know what would make my life meaningful. So, and then that point, I started to practice meditation more seriously and put more effort into practicing. I used to joke that my that time when I started practicing Zen, my life was basically going from my where I stayed, where I lived, either to the office or to the Zen center. I didn't have much of a social life outside of that. So, so what is our human life all about? And that is actually a very, very interesting, fascinating thing to look at because that's the story of your life. That's our life. It's very personal. And if you don't understand it, you don't learn who you are, you know, you're just going to end up acting out your life like an actor on a stage, but not really knowing who you are. You're just pretending to be somebody else, which is very sad. And that's not what uh, Buddhist practice is all about. Buddhist practice means attain who you are, understand yourself 100%. So in the Zen tradition, we have this famous poem which talks about human life and the way that our life is, the human root, we call it. So this is the poem, the human root. Coming empty-handed, going empty-handed, that is human. When you are born, where do you come from? When you die, where do you go? Life is like a floating cloud which appears. Death is like a floating cloud which disappears. The floating cloud itself originally does not exist. Life and death, coming and going, are also like that. But there is one thing which always remains clear. It is pure and clear, not depending on life and death. Then what is the one pure and clear thing? So that really is kind of guiding us to look at what our life is all about. What's the true meaning behind it? So when you're born, where do you come from? It's like perhaps you go to a park in your city, and when you're at this park, you see some guy, and he's obviously not from the the city, the same area. He dresses differently, he behaves differently. He's, almost like a tourist maybe. And he's just walking aimlessly around, back and forth, looking up, looking down, like he's lost. So you kind of feel sorry for this guy. You want to help him. So you go up to him and ask him, "Oh, where do you come from?" And then the guy looks at you, like with this, like kind of lost look on his face. Then he goes, "I don't know. I don't know." You say, "You don't know where you come from?" "I don't know." "And why did you come here?" You ask him. Then again he says, "I don't know. I don't know I came here." "What are you doing here?" Then he goes, "I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here." Then after this, where are you going to go? Then again, he's kind of replies, "I don't know." That's kind of like our life. If we don't look at, don't try to understand our life clearly. Where do you come from before you were born? That's a famous Zen koan. Don't know. After you die, where do you go? And what are you really doing here? Really, all the things that you do every day, all the things you do, you know, maybe it's like go to work, whatever you do at work, go for lunch, go for dinner, buy some nice clothes. Why do you do that? What are you doing that for? Do you really know? Do we really know what we're doing it for? Why? 100% no. And then, when you die, where do you go exactly? Do you exactly know where you're going to go? And most of those questions, we don't know. If we haven't looked into it deeply, we don't know. So most people are like that, don't know. And but they have some idea, this is what my life should be like. And maybe this idea comes from their family or their friends or their colleagues, or even you might pick it up from a movie. You see some, it's like successful people, and you think, that's how I should be. That's how I should be. So then you kind of try to model your life on that. Maybe there's a rich person you admire, like this Jack Ma is not so famous now, but yeah, these kind of guys who have a very high profile. If you like business, or if you like the entertainers, then a top singer or actor, actress, whoever, then you want to be like them. You're a fan, but who, you can't be like them. Then who are you really? So that's the point. Usually we have an idea in our head, but that's not our idea. It's somebody else's idea given to us, or we take it on. So, for example, I had met this very interesting uh, man many years ago when I was on a conference, Hobo Single Flower Conference, a spiritual conference in Korea, and he was a retired CEO of a top European bank, and his name is Robert from the Netherlands. So somehow we got talking, and then I asked him about his kind of his story. What was his story? Why was he there? Because he was already in his maybe 70s, early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. He was there with his wife. So I was kind of very interested because I never hadn't met him before, and he'd come all the way from Singapore to Korea. So I asked him, what made you get interested in Zen practice? So he started to tell me his story. It's really interesting. He said when he was young, he didn't come from a rich family, so he really believed that if he was rich, had lots of money, he would have freedom. He would be free. That means he could do anything that he wanted as long as he had money. So he said, I worshipped at every morning when I woke up, when he's in his teens, every morning when he woke up, he would kind of worship at the altar of the god of money, god of wealth. That was his whole motivation. He just wanted to make as much money as possible. And so he was a smart, very, very smart person. So he managed to get a job at this big bank in the Netherlands, starting from the very bottom. And because he was a smart guy and he was able to get along with people and all that, he got promoted, pretty fast. And he got promoted uh, instead of his peers, So he was getting ahead in the bank. And then finally, they made him CEO of the banking operations in the United States. So he was the top guy, and he had thousands of people working for him. So he said to me, after he got to be CEO, he kind of felt empty inside. And he said the reason was that he felt that he had won the race because he had beaten all his kind of competitors within the bank for this top job in the States. And he was getting paid a heck of a lot of money, millions. So he had won the race. He was racing for most of his life, for 30, 40 years, in this race against all these other people in the bank. And he had won. He had won. But he felt empty because that nothing had changed. He didn't feel any different inside. He said there was no prize. There was no prize for coming first. There was no prize for being the CEO. And he said, being the CEO, he had to do some things for the business which he didn't feel good about. But in order for the bank to maximize its profits, he had to do certain things that he felt very kind of not good. Okay. So very soon, he said, he felt depressed. Even though he had all this money, and he said he had houses in different countries, really nice cars and chauffeur driven, even had a yacht, all this stuff. So he said from the outside, people thought he had really made it. He was set for life. He was like the top 1% or top 0.5% in the world. But he just felt bad inside. So he fell into a depression. Can you imagine getting what you want? Your whole life, you've been trying to get as much money as you could. You've got it. And because you got it, you fall into a depression. So he said, when he fell into depression, he realized that wasn't what he wanted. It was like a kind of like they say in English, a poisoned chalice. So he quit. He resigned from being CEO. Everybody was shocked. You climb to the top of the pyramid, and then after you get to the top, you quit. You could have 10 more years of being the CEO, but then suddenly you quit. So he said, yeah, he quit because he just felt so unhappy. Then he decided, I have to go and figure this out. So the first thing he did was to go to a bookshop to look at the self-help section. And he said, if you go to any American bookshop, the self-help section is like covers a whole wall. There's so many self-help books there. How to be a more effective leader, how to be successful at this, that. Hundreds or thousands of self-help books. So he read a lot of these self-help books, but they didn't help him at all. Despite all the good advice that was in these books, didn't really help him feel any better. Then one day he went to Sri Lanka, I believe, if I remember correctly. And there he met a monk who taught him how to meditate. Then he realized, this is what I have to do. So he said to me, all my life, I've been trying to follow this outer path, this material path to material success. But actually, that wasn't the right path. Now I have this inner path, this inner spiritual path that I have to look at to find myself. And that was what he was doing when I met him. So that's very interesting because many of us don't get to be like him. We don't get to realize our dreams of success. Most of us are still struggling, thinking, if I get to the top, I'll be set for life. I've made it. So most of us don't get to be like him and realize what it's like to be the CEO, and it's not any different. But we think, it's got to be different. Just like he thought before he became CEO. Once I become CEO, I'll have all these great things. I'll feel great about myself. I'll understand myself perfectly. I'll know what to do with my life, and everything would be just like rainbows and unicorns, happy ever after. Disney movie ending. But it's not like that. There's so many wealthy, successful people who are not happy. I'm sure you know at least one. So that really tells us, or that begs the question, what is it that makes our life meaningful? What is it that makes our life fulfilling? If it's not material success, and all the religions talk about this, it's not about material success. What is it? That is why, if you are interested in figuring out your life, you need to have a spiritual practice. So in Buddhism, the spiritual practice is some form of meditation. Meditation in its widest sense, whether it's sitting meditation or walking meditation or mantra meditation, any kind of meditation that helps you kind of look deeply inside and then understand who you really are. And then you begin to understand your life and your purpose and the meaning of your life, why you actually came here to this world. What's it all about? Is it just to satisfy what our desires, what we want, our food desire, our success desire, our fame desire? Is that all it is about? So this question, this intention to look at our life more closely is very important. Okay, that's the Buddha also taught that. Look deeply at your life, because if you want to also take away the suffering of life, you have to understand who you are, and there isn't actually any other way. There's no quick fix about it. Many people say they may be, or they try to tell you there is, but actually there is no quick fix. You just have to look at yourself, to really deeply understand who you are. So yeah, I've been talking quite a while. I'll very quickly finish with this. Some of you may remember a comedian actor called Jim Carrey, and he was famous in the 90s for these like Dumb and Dumber Dumb and Dumber movie or The Mask. He was a very funny guy, and he became very, very successful and very rich. But now he's more like spiritual. He's got a beard and looks like a hippie. And he said, I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything that they ever dreamed of so that they can see that it's not the answer. So that's his experience. Everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of so that they can see it's not the answer. So what is the answer? That is for each of us to find out. That's why it's such a fascinating practice to really understand yourself. And once you understand yourself, you are grounded. Nobody can tell you any different. So that's the great thing about spiritual practice, and I hope you'll try it. If you really want to understand yourself, to take yourself out of this dissatisfactory realm of existence. So please give it a try and do some practice every day. Okay, been talking for quite a while, and so now that's the end of this particular sharing. And if you have any questions, please ask any questions that you may have. Your life, your practice, any kind of question. So, can you read out the question, Shamiksa?
Yes.
Your
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you very much, Sunim. I think we have a connection, the internet issue, I think, from Brother Ray. Sorry for
Okay,
that.
no problem.
Sorry. Yes, so the first question is from Josephine Gomez asking the abbess of Zen Nunnery, a
Hmm.
Taiwanese, once told me that my physical defect disqualifies me from becoming a nun. I was shocked. My Ningma teacher said that was rude of her to have said that. What do you say, Shufu? It's a personal question. Nice.
A physical defect disqualifies you from being a nun. Hmm. That's a very interesting question. And I don't know that there are any physical handicaps that disqualify anybody from being a monk or a nun, to be honest. So I don't know what thing that this the abbess is referring to. But if you have the intention and the kind of determination to ordain as a monastic, and if one nunnery says no, go to another one. You know, you know that one that's one person's opinion, and you can see that your other teacher says doesn't agree. So if you really want to become a nun and you really are committed to that, then go to another monastery, and keep going until you get accepted. There isn't anything in my mind. If you can function and do the practice and follow the schedule, then there shouldn't be anything that should stop you from ordaining. So if you can do everything that everybody else in the monastery does and follow the schedule, the practice, the rituals, then do it. Try somewhere else. Okay.
And then another question maybe derived from this question, Sunim, is that almost every nunnery or monastery in Taiwan or Malaysia, as long as they belong to Chinese Buddhism, they call themselves Zen monasteries, Zen centers, So how do we really know whether they are real Zen centers or not?
Well, yeah, you don't really know. You have to just see the practice, because like Zen has become this kind of very popular word. You see like Zen cafe or Zen
Mm,
coffee. It has this kind of marketing uh, sort of zing to it.
mm,
So
mm,
you add something Zen, and it becomes kind of like uh, what do you call it? Becomes something a little exclusive. So yeah, many temples like to call Zen, but then you just have to see what the practice is, because uh, like for example in Korea, if you if you say, oh, this is a Zen temple, then the main practice is meditation. You know, is meditation. So you just have to see. I mean, anybody can put a name to anything. That's okay. Uh, it's not against the law, can you say?
mm,
Because maybe originally they used to be a Zen temple, and then somehow through time things have changed, and the 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 practice has changed. That's also possible. So you just have to see, rather than attach to the name and the name of the thing. Go and see what really goes on. And some places, they may not even call themselves Zen, but they do have a very strong meditation practice. So that's all. You just have to, you can't just rely on the name alone.
mm. Okay, thank
Okay.
you, Sunim. Yep. And the next question, maybe, by the way, yeah, is from
I think,
humans. Yeah.
Brother,
Yes.
there is a comment by Gomez.
Okay, can you read that, Samisha? Yeah.
Yeah, Brother Ray, could you please display that? Yeah, she said this that my physical defect has not prevented me from being an opera and concert singer, TV host, etc. There is one
Okay.
more. I am a Sancho Jinin with vows. I don't know what does it mean.
I don't know what it means.
Maybe there's a
Maybe
certain kind of practitioner in tantric
Yeah.
practices with some certain vows, probably.
So in that case, it shouldn't prevent you from becoming a monastic. You just have to go to a temple that will ordain you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she
Yeah.
says,
So
thank you, Sunim also, I think. Yeah.
okay. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck.
Okay, the
I'm sure you'll
next
find somewhere that will ordain you. Okay. Next question.
next question is by human. How does human Zen different from non-human Zen? This is a very Zen question.
So, who made you human?
Mm,
Yeah. Human is just a name, but what are you really? So we say human and non-human, but what does it really mean? So that is, in a sense, name and form. If we get attached to name and form, then we say this is right and wrong. Human, non-human. Animal, not animal. Okay. So what is Zen really? Zen means meditation. And meditation, the point of meditation is to look at yourself, to be present in this moment and understand who you really are. That's all. So to actually do that, of course, you have to have this kind of body, a human body, because the Buddha said this is the only form that can practice and get enlightenment. That's why it's so precious to have this human body. He said it was very difficult to have this human body, and he made some analogies about that. It's like this turtle that comes out for air once every 1,000 years, and that once in a 1,000 years it comes out for air, it puts its head through a wooden ring in the ocean. That's how difficult it is to get a human body. And I think he's right, because it's very easy to lose this human form. And this form is the only one that you can practice to get enlightenment, because this form is a desire body. We have a lot of desire for food, sleep, fame, sex. What's the other one? I can't remember. But anyway, if you can let go of your desire, not attach to them, then you begin to see who you are, and one day you will have an enlightenment experience. That's the only one. If you're in the heavenly realm, you can't, because everything is so wonderful. If you're in the hell realm or your ghost, you're suffering too much to even think about enlightenment or finding out who you are. You're just suffering. So the human realm is very important. So this is the only realm in which we can practice and attain our true self. So it's a rare opportunity to have this body. So let's not waste this chance, because it's very easy to lose this body. He said, the Buddha said, losing the human form is like all these millions of grains of sand on the beach. It's like that. It's so easy to lose this human form. So let's remember that when we practice, and keep that in mind. And, be grateful for everything that we have in our life. Okay?
thank you, Sunil, for very good
Okay.
Zen answer. Okay, second one, Samisha, maybe.
does Zen meditation consist of shamatha and vipassana, or Zen goes beyond both of this?
Yeah, meditation is meditation. Okay. So it involves a certain amount of uh, effort into bringing your attention to some focus, or some people like to call it concentration. Then you have to also have awareness of what's going around, what's going on around you. So it's not different or same. It's actually all kind of this, how do you say, um, different labels for the same thing. Okay. Because when you start to practice, you realize, I first, first thing you have to do is just become more aware of your breath and learn to calm your mind down so that you can actually follow your breath for at least a slightly extended period of time. Then when you can do that, then you can develop your awareness, your kind of open awareness of what's going on. So all these go hand in hand. It's always like sometimes you lose your awareness and sometimes you lose your focus, but you bring it back. You bring it back. Keep coming back. And as you keep practicing coming back, you are able to do it for longer. So it's not this different, is this or is that? It's actually all coming from the uh, same not substance, should I say, uh, same recipe. Can I put it that way? For example, you go to a cookie factory and they make certain kind of the one kind of dough, but then these cookies that come out, they have different shapes. Like I don't know if you remember the alphabet cookies, A B C D E. Some people, some kids, I want to eat A or B or C, but actually they're all the same thing. They're all made from the same cookie dough and they all taste the same. But if you say, D is better than F or R is better than A, then you start to have distinction. But it actually comes from the same factory, it's the same ingredients. So this also comes from the same teaching, comes from the Buddha. But through time, people have emphasized different things. Okay. But when you really look at it fundamentally, it isn't very different at all. Okay. So try not to get hooked or try not to get caught on the labels. Okay. It's very easy to get caught on the labels. But if you just practice, as long as you practice, then eventually you see through the labels and realize that, actually, comes from the same source. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Sunim.
Okay.
I think the third question also comes from Guy, Mr. Guy, I think. How does Zen meditation differ from other meditation in other schools of Buddhism?
Okay. So if you're talking about this patriarchal Zen, okay, it's just a different emphasis on, like for example, uh, in certain meditation schools, it's your focus on like anapanasati, focus on the breath at the nose, or then you have vipassana, which is developing awareness. So all this have different emphasis, but they actually come from the same source and lead to the same place. So, for example, in patriarchal Zen, then the technique they use is using this great question, what they call Hua-du in Korean. In Chinese, it's Hua-to, the word head. So it involves practicing with a big question like, what am I? Or who is chanting the Buddha's name? Or what is chanting the Buddha's name? So it's just different form of practice just so that because different people have different affinities, like people in the West like to eat bread and potatoes. In the East, we like to eat rice and noodles. Then in other countries, they may like to eat different kinds of grains. In Mexico, they like to eat corn. Okay. But it's all food. It all is food. It's all carbon based, carbon, carbohydrate, whatever. So if you realize this, then you realize, it actually isn't that different. It's just different form and different people's preferences. So if you like Zen, fine. If you like Tibetan style meditation, fine. If you like Vipassana, fine. But the most important thing is that you practice. So the best form of meditation or best technique of meditation is the one that you will practice. That's all. There is no ranking. There's no Oscar for meditation techniques. It's just which one you will practice. That is the best one for you. That's all it is.
Sunim,
Yeah.
what is patriarchal Zen?
Our patriarchal Zen means like ancestral Zen, coming from our ancestors, like the sixth patriarch we know. So coming from China. So it's just a way of describing the Zen that was handed down from after Bodhidharma from India went to China. So we kind of distinguish it like that.
It's
You
almost
know,
like a lineage masters
Yeah, it's a
in
lineage.
yeah, yeah,
It's
lineage master.
basically a lineage. Yeah.
Lineage.
in Vishuddhimagga, there are many different methods of meditation, like um, antidotes for, like, we have a different temperament. So maybe for
Oh,
that, those are the antidotes, like Ashubha Bhavana. You said Anapansati. So it's also like it's a kind of a different methods in
mm,
meditation. It's also like in Zen kind of things. Like there are different methods for uh, you know to
Different kind
removing
of
or attention.
defilements. Yeah.
yeah. Well, no, because what it the Zen practice kind of is in this way using the big question, and that's all it is. Because that technique kind of helps you to turn the light back into yourself. Okay. So, what are kind of these mental defilements? They're basically uh, unpleasant habits of mind that we don't like, that are or negative habits of mind, right? Ne- Not positive ways of thinking, but all of it is thinking. These defilements that we say is basically originates from some kind of thought, right? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So you can kind of like in this, maybe this may help make it clear. You're growing a bush, a very nice a plant. Then you see certain leaves are not doing so well, or so certain places are being eaten by pests. So you start to snip. Then you also want the tree or your plant to grow in a nice shape, so you try to trim it like that. So then you have a nice, very pleasant plant. So that is kind of like taking care of the different defilements that appear in your mind. Zen is a little different. It's basically kind of like getting to the root. Okay, it's like looking at the root and seeing what's going on. So that's the kind of the analogy may not be perfect, but that's what Zen is. So it just has this one question where you just go uh, and basically cut off your thinking. That's what that's what the teaching is. It cuts off your thinking, and then that gets back to the root of everything, because all our defilements start from begins with our thinking. Then okay,
So Zen is almost like a one solution for all problems. One man,
kind
one,
of.
yeah, kind of.
Well, yeah, I hesitate to say that it solves all problems, but
Yeah, I know.
at least the contemplation, the problem, the issues with contemplation is just that, just one thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sunil. Yep.
Okay.
And yeah, and the fourth question is by Bodhi. What is the gradual path of Zen, or Zen only talk about sudden awakening?
That's a good question, because that's the big debate that they had in China during the Six Patriarchs time. There was the
Yeah.
gradual school and the sudden school. And the two leaders of this school said, "There's no difference, shouldn't be fighting about it. It's just that, like, you practice, then you wake up. Is that sudden or gradual? You know, so it's again some attachment to words, which doesn't really lead us anywhere. So the important thing is just to practice. When you wake up, is that sudden or gradual? It's like when you are in a room that is completely pitch black, can't see anything, and you're searching for the light switch. You search. Then suddenly you find it, you switch it on. Is that sudden or gradual?
Mm.
Right? It's just the light. You found the light switch and you switch it on. So it's not sudden, not gradual. It's the light is on. So when you wake up, you wake up. Sudden and gradual are just some, I don't know. I don't even talk about that now. Nowadays, nobody talks about that. It was during the Six Patriarchs' time. They were kind of, because there was certain jealousy about the Six Patriarch between the students of these two teachers, Hui Neng and Shen Sui, that the students were all making this all suffer. But the two main teachers didn't say that one was right and one was wrong. It's just basically the same path. Okay.
I think in today's fast-moving world, everybody only wants sudden rather than gradual.
Yeah. So there's this interesting saying: instant success takes time.
Mm. So go slow in order to reach
Instant.
fast.
Well, it may seem instant, but actually, it's taken a lot of time.
Yes.
All the like famous pop stars, actors, whatever. It seems like they suddenly became famous, but actually, it took them a lot of hard work and effort.
Yes. Exactly. So,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
I, yeah. Next question. I think
Ooh,
Samisha.
last one.
Yes. I think last one. Is it last one, Ray? I think the last one. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so the question is asked by Joy saying, is enlightenment attained by Zen masters equal to perfect enlightenment attained by the Buddha? How many stages of enlightenment are there in Zen?
So, good question. First, find the Zen master and the Buddha, then ask them. And how many stages of enlightenment are there in Zen? Okay. See this? Do you hear that? How many stages of enlightenment did you have to hear and see that? If you understand, very good. If you don't understand, then please practice some more. Then you'll get it. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, Sunim, for the answer, and thank you, Joy, for his
Yeah.
questions. At least you can achieve some joy in that, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, thank you, Sunil. I think that's all for tonight. Thank you very much
Okay.
for a very,
Thank you
very
both very
zen
much.
guided meditation tonight.
And thank
And
you, Roy,
yes,
running this thing.
yes,
Okay. Good night, everyone, and thank you for joining our practice.
yes. Before we do the dedication prayer, Samisha, would you like to announce our next event?
Yes, so we have Daily Dharma series on 21st August on Sunday, which is the title is Mistaken Views About Merits. And our moderator will be Ram Narula, and the contributors will be Dr. Mattia Salvini, Ben Mitru, Dr. Giuliano, and Vivek Sharma. This this talk is going to be very interesting. I hope our audience would join it and enjoy this and ask questions about the title which is displayed. So now I would like to request Sunim to please recite these four great vows.
Okay, so let's put our palms together and I'll recite the four great vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. May all beings be well, happy, and safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining
Thank you,
tonight's
Sunim. Thank you.
practice. Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
Good night, Samisha. Good night, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Good night,
Good
Sunim.
night.